everyone, and what is going on? And this week on Sunflower Enlightenment Radio, we will be talking about perspective. I know I posted on Instagram that it will be about worth, but that was episode number 5, and this is episode number 6. And so I'm kind of moved to talk about perspective. And with perspective, we have to see the bigger picture. Like right now, you could be looking at a canvas and all you see is a speck of orange. And you're like, God, what is that speck of orange? What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? I want to know what this speck of orange is. But that speck of orange could be a lesson for you. Or that speck of orange could be a blessing for you. So when you see like little small pieces to the puzzle, just know they'll all come in together and they'll show you the bigger picture. And as you go down later on down the month, you'll be like, oh, so that's why that happened, or oh, that makes sense, or you'll like get those really aha moments. So my definition of perspective is looking at the bigger picture and looking at it in different avenues of how you perceive it. So I went to this retreat one time, and the facilitator did an example of perspective. And she put 2 people on the side of I think it was a fish. I can't remember. No, a glass with the fish in it. But on one side, one person could see one color, and on the other side, another person could only see like half of the eyeball. But you could tell on one side, you could tell it was a fish, but on the other side, you couldn't tell it was a fish. So this goes to say the way somebody else perceives something, you might perceive it totally different. So that goes to say, like, don't judge people by what they see, because they may see it differently than you do, because it's all at their perspective. So Webster's dictionary of perspective is a point of view of a particular attitude toward a way of regards something. Sorry, let me read that over. A point of view, a particular attitude towards, or a way of regards to something. So basically, like I said, you looking at something and somebody else may see one thing and you may see another thing. That's your perspective, but the collective can look at it and see something totally different. And here's an example that happened to me today at work. And it's so funny because I really let myself get out of character. Like, I really was very, very upset with it. But then I had to think, now that I'm talking about perspective, I had to think that this person saw it a different way than I did. But to make a long story short, I was off today, but I had to reschedule my whole day because someone called out. Then the person that called out wanted to come in today, but I was already on the schedule, and she wanted to work, and I was like, okay, it doesn't matter to me. But me and her saw it at a different perspective. And what I told her, she got an attitude with me. Long story short, she got an attitude with me because I told her I was going to come in because I already mentally prepared to go to work. So I'm going to go to work. And so, long story short, perspective of this entire situation was she perceived it as, oh, it's okay for me to go to work, even though I've already finished what I needed to finish. It's okay because she was just on the back burner. But my perspective is I cleared my entire schedule to be moved to Thursday, so I'm going to come into work. We saw two totally different perspectives. I was already mentally prepared for it, and she was just using me as the back burner. So this goes to say that everybody sees something totally different than what you may perceive it as. I could be looking at a ball on the left side, and you could be looking at the same ball, and you see blue and I see red, and I'm like, okay, but if we look at it together, we can see the bigger picture. And I like to think of this as we go through life and we're going through these lessons, and we're like, why am I going through this? Why am I doing this? Like, you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're not seeing what the grand design is. Like, you're not taking a step back and saying, oh, okay, that's the big picture. This right here, this is just a small little piece of what is to come, or what's helping me to grow and elevate. So the ways you can implement this into your life is life lessons and blessings are just pieces to the divine masterpiece or the master puzzle. So basically, all these trials and tribulations and struggles and things that you're going through that you're worried about now are just small pieces to the big puzzle that you don't see yet. So you just have to, as you go through those lessons, you have to self-reflect on how can I make me better in this situation so I don't have to do this test again? What can I perceive in a positive light, in a positive way, to help propel me forward? What can I do as Derica or as myself? What can I do to perceive this situation in a positive light? And once you see that and you self-reflect on that perspective, then you'll see the grand scheme of things. And sometimes you won't see it right away. You'll probably see it maybe a day or two later, maybe a few weeks later, sometimes even months later. It all depends on how your faith operates and how your trusting in the process works. Because once you trust and believe and have faith in the divine, you'll get the willpower to just do it and see the bigger picture. And so a perfect example of this is a 500-piece puzzle. We all know those things can be very tedious and very tricky, and you see it and you're like, oh my goodness, this piece of puzzle has like so many little intricate details on it, but those intricate details are being put together to create that one big picture. And that one big picture is your divine purpose, is your divine life. You just have to take the time to self-reflect and realize that the things that you go through in your daily lives are just pieces to this big old puzzle that you haven't quite understood yet, but one day or maybe a few months from now, you'll understand that piece to that puzzle. It may not be the 500-piece puzzle, but it may be like the 100-piece puzzle. You know how when you put a puzzle together, you get like little pieces of it together. Maybe like 20 over here, 20 pieces of the puzzle over here, or 20 pieces of the puzzle over there. It's all up to you on how you perceive your own life and how you want to make it better. And always perceive yourself, always self-reflect and perceive yourself in a positive way. So thank you guys for listening, and I would love to get feedback. You guys can follow me on Sunflower Enlightenment on Instagram. You can follow that page on Facebook. I'm also looking for guests to come on the podcast to share your story of your self-evolution and the ways you love yourself. I've seen a tremendous amount of people on my Instagram that have grown and elevated so far. So I want to kind of reach out to them to see if they would love to be a guest on the podcast of Let's Talk Self-Love. And also give me subjects that you want to hear more about. And don't forget to like this podcast, to share it for friends and family that may want to hear it, that you feel like that would need it. And also, another thing is, I also sell herbal tea sets that help with evolving into who you are and helping you to release things that no longer serve you, help you to relax and help you to wake up and start refreshed. And those tea sets can be found online at www.sunflowerenlightenment.com. You can find those there. The price on there is $35, but if you DM me, I will take it down to $10 and it'll be just $25. So guys, I look forward to hearing all the great positive feedback this week, and I will see you guys next week on Let's Talk Self-Love. All right, guys, always remember to have the faith to trust and believe, the willpower to do what the divine is giving you. And remember, you always have the free will to say yes or no. So it's totally up to you to decide what will you choose. And always remember to follow the sun and enlighten your soul. See you guys next week on Let's Talk Self-Love.